Greetings, taxable assets. Or should I say collateral damage? We are back deep in the bowels of the Departmento Analytica, where the light flicker rate induces seizures and the recap tastes like engine coolant. I am Senior Auditor Valerius Krauss, and today we are not here to celebrate. We are here to conduct a deep dive audit.
Affirmative. I am Scribe Servitor XJ9. I have the files ready. The cogitators are warm.
Good, because today's file is a complete and utter mess of optimistic propaganda. The civilian contractor known as Auspex Tactics has submitted a video review for our consideration.
Yes, the file is titled "The Twin Lance Looking Dangerous." He uses exclamation points and the word hype.
It is disgusting. It smells of unauthorized emotion. What are the subject designations?
The subject names are Sunier and Scatterflare. The contractor suggests these are god-tier assets for the Tau Empire.
God tier. There is only one god, and he sits on a golden throne on Terra, not in a Xenos battlesuit. This is exactly the problem with civilian contractors. They look at a shiny new model and they see possibility.
Whereas the Departmento sees.
I look at the same model and I see gross asset inflation. I see mathematical embezzlement. Our mission today is to take the White Room theoreticals provided by Auspex Tactics, where everything goes according to plan and the dice always roll sixes, and audit them against the cold, hard geometric reality of the Tau Twin Lance Rules Analysis Report.
To determine their actual value.
Exactly. We're going to see if these so-called heroes are actually worth the tithe or if they are just a liability on the Imperial Ledger. Let's get into it. Start with the asset valuation, the durability assessment, and try to read clearly.
Yes, right away. Reading from Section 1 of Auspex Tactics report, he states they have sturdy defensive profiles. Specifically, he cites 16 wounds worth of toughness 6, a 2+ armor save, and a 4+ invulnerable save.
Sturdy.
He continues, claiming they are significantly tougher to take down than crisis suits, and that removing them requires focused firepower.
He uses the word sturdy. Stop right there. Let's look at the numbers, not the adjectives. 16 wounds. That number is designed to trick the illiterate. Explain the Phantom Squad Fallacy to the listeners.
Well, the unit consists of only 2 models, Sunier and Scatterflare. Each possesses 8 wounds.
Precisely, 2 models. Auspex says 16 wounds as if it's a pool of hit points you can dip into freely like a bag of gold coins. It is not. It is a low model count bottleneck.
Because damage allocation works differently on small units.
Right. If I inflict 9 wounds on a squad of 10 guardsmen, 1 man is left. The squad is broken, but the officer remains. The damage spills over efficiently into the trash. But here, walk us through the damage allocation of a high-yield weapon. Let's say a Lascannon deals 6 damage.
If a Lascannon deals 6 damage to a squad of 10 guardsmen, 1 guardsman dies. He has 1 wound. The remaining 5 damage is discarded. It is overkill.
Exactly. The inefficiency is on the attacker's side, but against the Twin Lance.
Sunier takes the hit. He has 8 wounds, so he takes all 6 damage. He is left with 2 wounds. There is no waste. The enemy gets full value for their shot.
The enemy gets maximum return on investment. You are making the enemy's anti-tank weapons efficient. And let's talk about the liquidation point. If I inflict 9 wounds on the Twin Lance, what happens to my asset?
1 model is destroyed. The unit's offensive output immediately drops by 50%.
50% liquidation. It is a market crash in a single shooting phase. If you lose 1 guy in a 10-man squad, you lose 10% effectiveness. You can still hold the line.
But if you lose Sunier...
If you lose Sunier, you have lost half your firepower, half your points, and half your tactical options.
Yeah.
That is not durability. That is volatility.
But Auspex mentions the toughness 6. Surely that counts for something. He compares them to crisis suits, which are toughness 5.
Marginally. It is a rounding error. Let's talk about breakpoints. This is where civilians fail basic arithmetic. In the current economy of the war zone, the strength of weapons dictates the wound roll. Strength equal to toughness wounds on 4s.
And strength greater than toughness wounds on 3s. Double strength wounds on 2s.
So, toughness 6. Does it protect you from bolters? Yes. They wound on 5s. But we don't pay 200 points to fight bolters. We pay for elite assets. Look at the mid-market weaponry. Autocannons, plasma, meltas. What is the strength profile there?
Plasma is typically strength 7 or 8. Meltas are strength 9.
And what is the relationship between strength 7, 8, or 9 and toughness 6?
The strength is higher than the toughness.
Which means...
They wound on a 3+.
They wound on a 3+. A 66% success rate for the enemy. Toughness 6 is not a bunker. It is a suggestion. But the real auditors of the battlefield, The Lascannons, the railguns, the bright lances. What strength are they?
Strength 12 and above.
And what does strength 12 do to toughness 6?
Strength 12 is double toughness 6. It wounds on a 2+.
Exactly. It wounds on a 2+. That means practically every shot from a dedicated anti-tank weapon goes through. The armor doesn't matter because of AP-3 or AP-4. The toughness doesn't matter because of the strength disparity. So what are you left with?
The 4+ invulnerable save.
The coin toss. Auspex calls it a shield. I call it coin toss bankruptcy. A 4+ save is a 50% chance of failure. The law of averages dictates that if you take 6 or 7 saves from anti-tank fire, you are going to fail.
You're relying heavily on probability.
You are betting your entire 200-point investment on whether a die rolls a 4, 5, or 6.
But isn't that just the nature of warfare?
No, that is gambling. The Departmento does not gamble. We calculate risk. Terminators have 2+ armor saves that work against small arms. Custodes have 4+ invulns but higher toughness. Here, you have the worst of both worlds.
Low toughness relative to the guns shooting you and a coin flip save.
Yes. When you fail that save against a D6+1 damage weapon, you don't lose a disposable drone. You lose a named character. You lose the exemplar of Monka. You lose 100 points instantly.
So relying on the invulnerable save is unwise.
It is fiscal irresponsibility. This is not a tank. It is a high-value target made of papier-mâché and hope. And hope, as we know, is a taxable offense. Move to Section 2. The melee capabilities. I know Auspex loved this part. The shooting and melee fraud.
Yes, Section 2. Auspex Tactics is quite enthusiastic about the melee mechanics. He highlights that they can fire their guns in close combat because of big guns never tire.
Oh, wonderful. What else?
He reads the profile, 8 attacks at strength 6, AP-1, damage 2 from the pistols. He suggests that the tactic is to shoot the enemy and then charge them down afterwards.
Charge them down, listen to that. He thinks they are assault marines. He thinks because they have twin in the name, they are the twin Primarchs. This is the shooting and melee fraud. Let's run a simulation. I want to see the numbers.
Simulation loaded. Scenario. The Twin Lance charges a standard 5-man squad of Space Marine Terminators.
Good. The Twin Lance charges. They get into engagement range. First they shoot. Big guns never tire. But is there a tax for this privilege?
Yes. Vehicles and battlesuits firing heavy weapons in engagement range suffer a -1 penalty to the hit roll.
So their ballistic skill drops. They're missing more shots. They fire their fusion eliminators and burst cannons. Against Terminators with a 4+ invulnerable save, how many die?
Running the variance. Statistically, perhaps 1 Terminator falls. Maybe 2 if the dice are exceptionally favorable. Let's be generous and say 2 Terminators die to the shooting.
Fine. 2 dead, 3 remain. Now the fight phase. They punch. What is the weapon skill of these so-called melee experts?
The datasheet confirms weapon skill 4+.
4+. That is a 50% failure rate. They are elite pilots wearing suits that cost more than a planetary governor's palace, and when they punch, they miss half the time. That is the weapon skill governor. It is a bottleneck. It is inefficient.
But the profile of strength 6, AP-1, damage 2, that sounds decent on paper.
It sounds decent to a civilian. But look at the target. Terminators have a 2+ save. AP-1 makes it a 3+. They are saving on 3s. Calculate the damage.
With 8 attacks hitting on 4s, that is 4 hits. Wounding on 3s, that is maybe 3 wounds. Terminator save on 3s. The math suggests they deal perhaps 1 single wound. They do not kill a Terminator in melee.
So you charged in. You killed 2 with guns. You killed 0 with fists. There are 3 angry Terminators left. And now the retaliation.
The Terminators fight back. They are equipped with power fists.
Power fists. Strength 8, AP-2, damage 2.
Strength 8 versus toughness 6, they wound on 3s. AP-2 puts the Twin Lance on their 4+ invulnerable save again.
The coin toss returns. But this time, you are taking a volume of attacks.
3 Terminators, roughly 9 to 12 attacks. Hitting on 3s, wounding on 3s. The projection shows they inflict approximately 8 wounds on the Twin Lance.
8 wounds. That is 1 pilot dead. So let's balance the ledger. You killed 2 Terminators, roughly 80 points. You lost 1 commander, roughly 100 points.
A net loss.
You lost the trade. You lost the initiative, and now your remaining pilot is stuck in combat, unable to shoot efficiently next turn.
That is a severe tactical failure.
It is unauthorized loss of government property. Charging is a melee trap. It is not an offensive maneuver. It is a suicide pact. Auspex called it aggressive utility. I call it incompetence. You only charge if the enemy is already dead or if you're trying to get a medical discharge.
I will note that in the ledger. Charge only when victory is statistically inevitable.
Precisely. Now, let's talk about the movement. This is the part where Auspex really loses his mind. The God-tier mobility scam. Read the hype.
Section 3. Auspex Tactics calls them a God-tier unit. He cites an effective 16-inch movement. He specifically mentions the retro thruster's ability, which allows a normal move of up to 6 inches at the end of the fight phase.
And his conclusion.
He claims they alone might kill 150 to 250 points, acting as a highly mobile assassin.
God-tier. 16 inches. It sounds wonderful on a spreadsheet, but war is not played on a spreadsheet. War is played on a table with terrain and debris and enemies who are trying to cheat you. This is where the geometric denial comes in.
Geometric denial.
The box-in maneuver. Auspex assumes you can just float wherever you want. He assumes the floor is made of air. But experienced opponents, people who actually pay their taxes, use chaff, they use cultists, they use guardsmen, they use nurglings.
Units with low point costs, but physical presence.
Exactly. Read the rule for retro thrusters again, specifically the restrictions on where you can end the move.
You can make a normal move, but you cannot end within engagement range of enemy models. And of course, the core rules state you cannot end a move on top of another model's base.
Right, so visualize the board, you fly in, you shoot. You want to use your retro thrusters to jump back to safety, but wait, I have placed 10 cultists in a conga line 8 inches behind you.
So if you try to move back 6 inches, you would land on the cultists.
You would land on them, which is illegal. Or you would land within engagement range of them, which is illegal. So where do you go?
Nowhere. The move is nullified.
You are grounded. The God-tier mobility evaporates because a bunch of peasants with autoguns stood in the wrong spot. Because there are only 2 models, their footprint is tiny. They're easily surrounded. If a horde of gaunts surrounds them, physically touching their bases on all sides, can they fall back?
If they are physically pinned, no. You cannot move through enemy models unless you have a specific rule for it, like fly, but you still cannot land on them. If the ring is tight enough, they are trapped.
The high mobility asset becomes a static statue. You're trapped. You're surrounded by angry Xenos, and then you die. The high mobility is a scam because it relies on your opponent being too stupid to stand in your way. And relying on enemy stupidity is not a strategy, it is a prayer.
The analysis report calls this the move block trap. It seems highly effective against low model count units.
It is the oldest trick in the book, and Auspex didn't even mention it. He just sees the 16 inches and gets starry-eyed. Typical civilian. He sees the ceiling, I see the floor. Wait, hold the audit.
Is there a discrepancy in the file?
This recap. Did you brew this?
I utilized the standard Departmento dispenser. Setting 4. Stimulant sludge. It is the regulation blend.
It tastes like Prometheum runoff. It tastes like someone dissolved a boot in boiling water. Stimulant sludge implies it stimulates. This just makes me angry. Why is it that we can audit the entire fiscal output of a sector, but we cannot get a decent cup of coffee in the break room? It's the same bitterness. It's the exact same bitterness a Tau player feels when they realize their 200-point unit just bounced off the hull of a Land Raider.
Perhaps I could requisition some sweeteners from the officer's mess.
Don't you dare. We suffer like the common man here. And speaking of the common man, I want to address the listeners directly. Break the fourth wall. Open the channel.
Channel open.
You. Yes, you. The one listening to this deep dive while you paint your little plastic soldiers. You think I'm being too harsh. You think your Twin Lance heroes are going to defy the math. You think because you named them Starscream and Thundercracker that the dice gods will favor you? Go to the comments. Right now, tell me I'm wrong. Tell me about that one time you rolled 5 6s in a row and killed a knight. Do it. Civilians always think they can balance the ledger better than an auditor. They always think their luck is a variable I forgot to carry. Go ahead. Type your angry little rebuttal. It feeds the algorithm. And the algorithm is the only god High Command prays to these days.
Channel closed.
Good. Now back to the fraud. Section 4. The heavy anti-tank embezzlement. This is the biggest lie of them all. This is where the money truly disappears.
Section 4. Auspex Tactics claims they have punchy close-range weapons. The fusion eliminator is strength 10, AP -4, D6 damage. He states they are good into tougher vehicles and will kill somewhere between 150 to 250 points.
Strength 10. There it is. The magic number that isn't magic anymore. What is the toughness ceiling for heavy armor in the current edition? What is the toughness of a Land Raider?
Toughness 12.
And a Monolith?
Toughness 14.
And a Knight Castellan?
Toughness 12.
So, if your massive fusion cannon is strength 10 and the target is toughness 12, what is the math?
Strength 10 is lower than toughness 12, therefore it wounds on a 5+.
A 5+. You are hitting on 2s, wonderful, but you are wounding on 5s. That is a 33% success rate. Let's do the math. You fire the fusion eliminator, you have 2 shots, you hit both. You rolled a wound. 2 dice. You need 5s.
Statistically, you land 1 wound, maybe 0.
But let's assume you paid the tax. You brought stealth suits. You are re-rolling ones. Let's say you get lucky and push 2 wounds through. The enemy has no save because of AP -4. Now damage, D6 damage.
The average roll on a D6 is 3.5, so roughly 7 damage total.
7 damage. How many wounds does a Land Raider have?
16 wounds.
So you inflict roughly 45% of its structural integrity. You blow off a sponson, maybe scratch the paint, and then the Land Raider is still alive. It is still fully operational, and it is angry. It turns its turrets. It fires back. And because you are toughness 6, it kills you. You failed the stat check. You failed to liquidate the asset.
But Auspex calls them tank killers.
False advertising. If you buy a toaster that only toasts the bread on one side 33% of the time, you return it. They are not tank killers. They are boomers.
Boomers.
Yes, they are bullies. They are designed to beat up heavy infantry. They are designed to kill Terminators or Ogryns or other things that are toughness 5 or 6. Strength 10 is great against toughness 5. It wounds on 2s. But against actual tanks, it is ineffective. Sending the Twin Lance to kill a Land Raider is embezzlement of resources. You are throwing points into a furnace.
Moving to Section 5. The scale of war assessment, the difference between 1,000-point and 2,000-point engagements.
Ah, yes. The big fish, small pond theory. This is the only place where Auspex might accidentally be right, but for the wrong reasons. Read the analysis.
The analysis report states that in a 1,000-point game, they act as the Night Saber projection. They are force determinants. However, in a 2,000-point game, they become a resource island.
A resource island. Isolated. Alone. Surrounded by sharks. Let's break this down. In a small skirmish, 1,000 points, the enemy budget is tight. They might only have 1 anti-tank gun, maybe a single Gladiator Lancer. If the Twin Lance kills that gun or avoids it, they are gods. Their 16 wounds are oppressive because the enemy simply lacks the volume of fire to remove them. They're the biggest kid on the playground.
But in a 2,000-point game, the dynamic shifts.
In real war, the enemy brings redundancy. They bring 3 anti-tank guns, they bring a Night Castellan, they bring a Shadow Sword. In that ocean, the Twin Lance is just a drop of water. They're easily deleted. And here's the opportunity cost. This is basic economics. Compare the Twin Lance 2 models, roughly 200 points, to a Sunforged Crisis team.
A Sunforged Crisis team consists of 3 models plus a commander.
Yes. 3 models. A commander to give buffs. Invulnerable drones to take the hits. And what is their special rule?
So Sunforge has built-in rerolls to wound and damage against vehicles.
Built-in rerolls. They don't need a spotter. They don't need luck. They have synergy. They are a professional army squad. The Twin Lance, they are lone wolves. They die alone. Taking the Twin Lance in a 2,000-point game is trading a professional army squad for 2 cowboys with cool nicknames. And let me tell you, cowboys do not win wars. Logistics wins wars. Volume of fire wins wars. Not cool vibes.
This leads directly into Section 6, the synergy void.
The void. The black hole where your command structure collapses. TIE armies function as a castle, do they not?
Yes. The guided mechanic encourages units to remain close to observer units to receive ballistic skill bonuses.
A firing line. Discipline. Order. But the Twin Lance, they move 16 to 20 inches ahead. They run away from the army. They leave the buff bubble. And suddenly, you have a logistical nightmare. To support them, to give them those precious rerolls, what must you do?
You must move your observer units, like stealth suits or pathfinders, forward into range.
Exactly. You have to move your fragile, wet paper towel stealth suits into no man's land, just a spot for your so-called heroes. You are risking your support assets to save your hero assets. It is backward. The heroes should be saving the army. Compare them to the Ghost Keel. I want you to the comparison from the analysis report.
The Ghost Keel battlesuit possesses the lone operative ability. It cannot be targeted by ranged attacks from greater than 12 inches away. It is independent. It creates its own cover.
Professionalism. The Ghost Keel sits on an objective, sips a martini, and nobody can shoot it. It is self-sufficient. The Twin Lance, they are attention seekers. They are visible to everyone. Look at me. Look at my paint job. And then they get shot by a Lascanon from across the map. The Twin Lance creates logistical friction. They force the army to play their game instead of the army's game.
So the final findings. Section 7.
The summary. Let's wrap this up before I have to drink more of this sludge.
Yeah.
Auspex calls them must-take and God tier. What is the Departmento's correction?
Classification is tactical divergence.
Role.
Distraction Carnifex / harassment unit.
Zones of engagement.
Green zone against elite infantry. Terminators chosen. Red zone against heavy armor, land raiders, knights.
And the most important finding, the trap.
Do not charge unless the enemy is already dead. Shooting in melee is a propaganda lie.
Correct. Mark it in the ledger, stamp it, filed under liabilities.
Done. The ledger is updated and sealed.
You know, looking at the file one last time, Sunier and Scatterflare, they have a tragedy too.
Tragedy. And
Yeah.
what's
They are exemplars of Monka. They avenge their commander. They fight with his broken bonding knife. They're designed to be the killing blow. In the lore, they are legends. They zoom around the battlefield, names painted on their hulls, thinking they are the protagonists of this story.
But on the tabletop, the reality is different.
On the tabletop, to Alas Canon, they are just geometry. They are just toughness 6. They are glass-jawed boxers in a heavyweight fight. Auspex Tactics sells you the dream. He sells you the ace pilot fantasy. But the ledger shows only the cost of the wreckage.
That is a sobering thought.
It is the only thought that matters. In the 41st millennium, heroism is just a variable in a losing equation. But you, listening to this, maybe you can defy the equation. Before you go, remember to tap that like button and hit subscribe. Maybe if we get enough engagement, High Command will finally fix the ventilation in here. Dismissed. Pay your tithes, citizens.
Praise the Omnissiah.
Get back to work.